Hello, my dear students, and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 32 of a 95-part series of tutorials in object-oriented programming series in C++, with our focus being on what we call the nested classes and the implementation of objects and the classes. My name is Memeji M, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. What are nested classes and why are they important? The nested classes are those classes that are defined within other classes. The class that contains the nested class is known as the enclosing class. The nested classes or the nested classes can be defined in the private, protected, or private or public portions of the enclosing class. A nested class is created if it does not have any relevance outside its enclosing class. In other words, nested classes are useful within the classes in which they have been defined or prototyped. By defining the class as a nested class, we avoid a name collection. The size of objects of an enclosing class is not affected by the presence of nested classes. On the other hand, or in addition, the member functions of a nested class can be defined outside the definition of the enclosing class. This is done by prefixing the function name within the name of the enclosing class, followed by the scope of the resolution operator. This, in turn, is followed by the name of the nested class, followed again by the scope resolution operator. For example, you can have the function called your name and a class or whose scope is a class called name. And this class called name is a nested class within the class called details. So this statement simply means that your name is a function or a method that has been defined within the class or within a nested class called name, whose scope is the class called details, and this method is not expected to return any value. That's why it is void. A nested class may be only prototyped within its enclosing class and defined later. Again, the name of the enclosing class, followed by the scope resolution operator, is required just as you have seen. The objects of the nested class are defined outside the member functions of the enclosing class in much the same way by using the name of the corresponding class followed by the scope resolution operator. In other words, if a class is nested, you also need to nest its object. For example, you can have a declaration such as subdetail. Subdetail is an object of a nested class called name. And this nested class called name, its scope is class called details. And for that reason, we are declaring an object to be used to manipulate the nested class called name. And because name is a nested class, meaning it is under the other class called details, then that's why we are writing it as you can see. So even the objects for nested classes are also expected to be nested. However, this line will compile only if class name is defined within the public section of class details. An object of the nested class can be used in any of the member functions of the enclosing class without the scope resolution operator. Moreover, an object of the nested class can be a member of the enclosing class. In either case, only the public members of the object can be accessed unless the enclosing class is a friend of the nested class. The member functions of the nested class can access the non-static public members of the enclosing class through an object, a pointer, or a reference only. The classes are nested to merely control the visibility. By default, the enclosing class and the nested class do not have any access rights to each other's private data members. They can do so only if they are friends to each other. The following is therefore a sample program of a nested class and a nested function that prompts the user for his or her name and two scores for cat1 and cat2. And then the program computes the total of the two values and displays the results. So the name of my function or the name of my program is nested classes. We have our stream there, and we are also introducing another preprocessor directive called string because we are going to be manipulating a series of characters or what we call string. Then we have using namespace standard there. Then we define our class called details. It has 3 private members, private data members who are cat1, cat2, and sum. It also has public members. These public methods, one of them is get details. The other one is total. The other one is a class. This is a nested class. The class is called name. And this class called name has public members. Who is public here? The first one is the member called first name of type string and a method called your name. And then we are creating an object. We are creating an object called subdetail to be used to manipulate the members of the nested class called name, whose scope is a details class. And that's the end of that class called details. So you can see how we have nested our class called name and also how we have nested the object or the instance for the nested class by the name subdetail. From there, we define the function for computing total and displaying the results. Its scope is details. Now, it is performing an operation which is picking the content of the member memory location of the member called cat1, adding to what is in cat2. In that memory location called cat2, and the results are being assigned to the member called sum. And then the function is displaying hi. Then it is picking the content of the member memory location for the member called first name and writing it out on the screen. For example, if it is meme, it will display hi meme. Then it will also continue to display your total score is. Pick the content of memory location called sum, display it on the screen, and then drop one line. So that's what that function is doing. This function, total, is for computing the two values entered, displaying the results, as well as picking the name of the person or the content of the memory or of the member called first name and displaying it on the screen. Next, we go to the main function. Then we declare an instance of the class called details, and this instance is student. Then we invoke the function called get details through the object called student. So once we invoke that function called get details, what will happen is that the compiler will go to the class called details, then encounter this function called get details. It has been prototyped. So it will go and look for the definition of that function. So where is that function on details, on getting details? Here it is after the main. So it will come here and then it will invoke the nested method called your name. It will invoke that nested method through the object called student detail. So it will then prompt the user to enter scores for Cat1 and Cat2. So the user will key in whatever will be entered will be read and be stored in the member called Cat1 and the member called Cat2. And that is all with that function. Then the compiler will go back to the main function. It will go back to the main. Where is the main? Here is the main. So it will move on and invoke the next function, which is called total. So it will go to which class? The class called details, whose object is student. And then look for the function or for the method called get or called total. This function here. This function has been prototyped, so the compiler will look for the full definition of total. Here it is. What is it doing? It is adding the values and storing the results in sum, and then it's displaying the message hi, then picking the content of first name and displaying it on the screen, followed by your total score is, then it picks the value in the memory location called sum and display it on the screen. Once that is done, the compiler the control will be taken back to the main program or the main function, and then the control will be returned to the operating system and the program execution will end. So that's how that program is going to work. So the following is a demonstration on how this program is compiled and executed in C++ and the kind of output that it will generate. So my dear students and the rest of the learners, as usual, copy this program in your exercise book or in your word processor, and then start your C++ program. So I want to commence my C++ program and proceed and decode your program, or just copy and paste your program on your editor for C++. So the name of my project is Nested Classes. I'll proceed to initiate the source file. So the name of my program, the name of my file is Nested Classes. So once you are on your editor, like there on my editor, you can copy your program that you have coded and you can paste it here, or you can type each of the instructions one at a time. So let me copy my program and paste it here because I've already typed it in my word processor. So this is my program. So let me just copy my program. Here it is. I'll just copy my program and I paste it on my C++ editor. If you have written yours in your exercise book, just type each of the lines or each of the instructions one at a time. And then, of course, ensure you ident your program well so that we're able to tell which are the nested classes or nested functions, which ones are not. Like in this case, you can see very well that this class here is nested under this class. So the level at which class name appears in relation to the margin is different from where details class commence. At the same time, it's also good to identify also the rest of the code. So here we are. That's our program. I'm just indenting my source code to make it more readable and to help us understand how each part is working or understand the flow. Then save your program. From there, compile your program to confirm that the program is okay. So there we go. Our compilation has been successful and there are no errors. You can then proceed and execute or run your program. You can see it is prompting me to enter my first name. So which function or which member is that? That member who is being invoked is your name function. So let me enter Meme, or yes, let it be Meme. I wanted to key in a Meriswap, but let it be Meme. So there we go. Once you press enter key, where do we expect to go? So you press enter key. You can see it has already, the program has been able to proceed, or the compiler has been able to proceed and invoke the other function, which is get details. So which function was really working? One, you can see that the function for your name, this function here has been invoked and the get details function. So this is a statement that has been executed to prompt us to enter our first name. Once that is done, that's why you can see the next statement is enter scores for cat 1 and the 2. So that is this statement here. So once we key in the scores, for example, 23 and 67, the next function to be invoked is the one which is displaying the results. So you can see what has happened is that after we have entered the values for cat 1 and the 2, the next function that has been invoked, is total. Now note that this statement here is invoking get details function. And the get details function is this one. Then the get details function is the one which has invoked your name function, meaning your name function is nested. And after that, once that is done, the control has been taken back to main. And then the next function to be invoked is total. So this function here is the one which has been invoked next. And for that reason, the program or the function has been able to pick the content or the value entered under cat 2 and the one entered under cat 1, and then the 2, assign the result to sum, or the memory location called the sum, and then it has gone on and displayed this statement here that hi, who, Meme, the content of first name. Your total score is, then it has picked what is under sum and displayed it on the screen and dropped one line below. And that's what has happened. So let's press any key to continue. And that's how our program is working. So I'll click on File and then I close the solution. So my dear students and the rest of the learners, that's how that program is going to work. And with that, we have come to the end of part 32 of this series. You can continue to part 33 of this series, in which we are going to discuss or describe what we call the container class libraries and the implementation of objects in the classes. For this reason, let me congratulate you. Congratulations for learning part 32 of 95 on nested classes and the implementation of objects and the classes in object-oriented programming. You can access videos for the other parts in object-oriented programming series, as well as other computer ICT videos by clicking or tapping on Emily Swap ICT YouTube channel below this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel by tapping on subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. You can also join Emily Swap ICT YouTube channel as a super fan or super member by clicking on join button, then following the prompts displayed. For any further correspondence, kindly write to us through the email emilyswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me. Let's meet in part 33 of this series, and God bless.